How's it going, guys? I hope everybody's having a wonderful day so far. Today we are going to be looking at the Bone Necro. Now, this thing does do a good amount of damage. It does instantaneous damage, unlike the Poison Necro build that we did a while back, and it is very strong, very tanky. With that being said, though, while it's a great build, I'm thinking it's probably not the build to run on hardcore. I'm definitely more comfortable running the Summon Necro. But anyways, let's get into it. Now, normally you'd be probably running a Smoke, but I have enough strength in for the Scolder's Ire for the extra magic find. Ideally, your best in slot is going to be an Enigma, but I'm broke. So, our stat distribution is just enough strength to wear your gear. Takes 97 for the Scolders, which is the heaviest strength thing on the build. We have enough dexterity to 75% max our block with the Homunculus, which is of course and shacoed, if you recall from our last video. And then everything else goes into vitality. We got a snazzy little amulet here, which is 2 to poison and bone skills, with the nice resists there. Ideally, we would want 20% faster cast rate on it as well. It's a very hungry FCR type of build, but I went for survivability instead. Now, boots, you're going to want tri-res boots. We have the Arachnid Mesh. I have an FCR ring with 30% lightning resist, and a Nagel ring. Ideally, you're going to want 2 Stones of Jordans here. Then we have the Trang's Gloves, which are still considered best in slot. You can use anything with FCR, though, because that's the big thing that we're using the Trangs for in this build, is the FCR. You are going to want to get a Bone Wand with 2 sockets. Now what you can do is restart your game on normal and go over to Drognin. Now let's see if the map pattern spawns properly. Boy, that was a long loading screen. And we got it. So you're going to go onto normal, not hell. And you're going to go to Drognin, you're going to trade. Now, it's only going to be bone wands. He's going to have regular wands, U wands, and bone wands. You need to make sure that it is a 2-socket bone wand. It can have no sockets, but then you'll just have to socket quest it. And you want to get either 3 bone spear or 3 bone spirit, depending on what your personal choice is for it. Bone spear's faster and pierces, however it can miss, and bone spirit auto targets the enemy, but it only hits once. My personal preference is bone spear. So we hit this guy up on normal. He gave us a 2-socket bone wand with 3 bone spear. This rune word white, it is the best. You can wear it early on. It gives 5 to bone spear, 8 if you're counting the poison and bone skills. And it is just a wonderful thing to have for a bone build. And then you're going to want a Dole and an Io rune, which you can get from the Countess on normal. Then we went through all the rest of the build. We have our tri-res. Ideally we want 2 Stones of Jordan. You're going to want an Arachnid Mesh for the all skills and FCR. You're going to want an Enigma, but a Smoke will work just fine as well. You're going to want a 20 FCR Poison and Bone Ami, ideally with some resists. And instead of a Shaco, you would ideally want a 2-skill, 20 FCR, 20 all resist, maybe with some magic find, diadem or tiara and such. but, you know, we got a Shaco. And we got our Poison and Bone GCs. And again, we got a couple spare small charms for resists. We got an MF one there, we got our torch. Getting into the skill tree. That is just purely off of the item. We are going to want to put 1 point into Clay Golem, and that is it. He's just going to be a temporary meat shield for us. Doesn't take anything extra to summon him. Over to curses, you're going to want to go 1 all the way into life tap, and 1 all the way into decrepify. Your main curses in this build are going to be amp damage with corpse explosion. Life tap if you're on a boss and your merc is just going hard at it. And decrepify also for bosses, depending on which one you're facing. Like Duriel is a good example where decrepify is just the best. Over in Poison and Bone, we have 1 point into bone armor. We have our bone wall maxed, our bone prison maxed, our bone spirit maxed, our bone spear maxed, and just 1 point into corpse explosion. It's going to give us big enough range for most of the stuff we're doing, and you're going to want to max out teeth, but I am not high enough level to do so yet. All of that is because of the synergies for bone spear and bone spirit. Now getting into the build, very first 2 things that we do, bone armor, clay golem. We're going to make sure that we got our pots restocked.
Welcome to my shop.
Welcome to my shop. Okay, so we are going to go and kill Andy. Now we are on hardcore, so we are going to be very careful. Our bone armor does absorb quite a lot because of the points that we've put in, so that covers our physical damage. We have our reses maxed, which of course is very important. Now, I'll show you the bone spear versus bone spirit. I have both of them doing pretty close to equal damage right now. So we are just whipping through. You can see it just completely shreds everything damage-wise. The downside is we do not have any summons to tank anything for us aside from the clay golem, and he still is pretty squishy with only 1141 health. So again, spear pierces, but it can miss. If we were to drop that in the wrong direction, oh, Merc killed him. Now we are going to keep going through until we find our next level, but we're going to purposely miss. And Bone Spirit is just having none of that. It is going and finding our target and dropping it. There our stairs are. Catacombs level 3. We're going to move on to Catacombs level 4. Hoping we get a decent sized enemy group. This'll do. No, it won't, because Bone Spear ruined it. But your general way that you would use the skills is you Bone Spear or Bone Spirit to get a kill. You would cast amp damage, and then you would cast Corpse Explosion, and they'll take extra damage from the physical portion because of the amp damage, just instantly dropping packs, and we got the nice radius from the plus skills. Now, when you get this build fully built up with Enigma, and you have the rest of your Poison and Bone GCs and everything, your Bone Spirit or Bone Spear, again, based on preference, is going to be hitting about 7,000, which is pretty hefty. Our skill moves fast enough that we can cast it. It has good range. Even against these champions here, they stand no chance. You can see we're definitely taking a bit more damage than we did with the Summon Necro, though. could be avoided just by playing slower. But we're still pretty safe. Now we do have Bone Prison, which is another nice thing. And this is one of the things that does make this build a bit safer. Not summon Necro level of safe, but these things are pushing me. I don't want them to because they're big and scary. And boom, we Bone Prison. And it has 5,357 life. And it costs 0 mana, so we could literally just Bone Prison it up and start casting our bones. Now, super obnoxious if it's done in multiplayer, can get people killed. Whether you consider that a pro or a con, I'll leave that up to you. So, moving through here, we resummoned our golem. This is a good example. Half damage, corpse explosion, drops the whole pack instantly. And we have super nice range with that bow and spear. Now, ideally, I still have my old merch set up, but ideally you're going to have an insight for mana management, because this build is a thirsty boy. Grab that rejuvenation potion, and we are good to start on Andy in a second here. We're just going to move those around so we have a bit of everything. Recast our bone armor, recast our golem armor. Clear some of this stuff out. And you can see it still is chunking Andy pretty good. Definitely could be better, of course, with more damage, more poison and bone skills. And we got a 10 crits. With this build, we are still hitting pretty good MF. We are at 70 FCR. And more or less are just good to go. You can see our Merc almost got dunked. Our Clay Golem almost instantly disappeared. Great build, I just don't think it's the one to go for hardcore.
Yes?
Now if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and you have yourselves a wonderful day.